On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, 94-yard headshot, M41B sniper trouble, is the 30 Supercarry dying? Stay weird, Austin. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is episode 307 of the John 1911 podcast, and this is going to be a solo episode. Today is... what is today? Today is Wednesday, June 28th. It is after 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and in an effort to get podcasts out more frequently, when we can't do them as a group, I'm going to obviously start doing them solo. So if that's something you're interested in, please stick around, because hopefully you'll find it interesting. So a couple of things, I guess, to talk about, at least right off the bat, is, and I guess I shouldn't have been surprised by this. I shot a groundhog on our property at 94 yards with my carry handgun. And we ended up measuring it at 94 yards. And the rub of it is, when I shot the groundhog, I didn't realize I had killed it. We didn't find it until an hour later. So to tell the story, well, let me go ahead and say this. So we didn't get it on film because we weren't trying to film it. And I just posted a picture of it and put it up. Distance was 94 yards. And I didn't realize, which was my mistake. It's not everybody else's mistake. It's my mistake. That this would cause a fair amount of consternation among the gun Illuminati in the drive-by comments, basically calling me a liar, or either directly calling me a liar or intimating that I must be one of the greatest handgun shots in the world. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Meaning, like, there's no way that could be true. Well, unfortunately for me, I'm not one of the greatest handgun shots in the world. And unfortunately for most people that make these comments, and I'm not trying to be mean. Like, I'm not angry about it. Like, I'm not bothered by it. But what it's obvious to people that shoot a lot and, have some level of accomplishment or maintain a level of skill. One thing with handguns is you achieve a level of skill is it degrades very quickly. You can lose a lot of your handgun skill in just like 2 or 3 weeks. Like if you're working at the very top edge of your abilities. So, but these comments really show more about the commenter and their lack of experience, or their lack of ability to shoot a handgun. Because the reality is, and I did it with a red dot. I carry a red dot on my concealed carry handgun. It was for the record, in case someone who wants to know what model handgun or make of handgun, I shot a groundhog in the head at 94 yards. I guess I should add the head part because that's true. It's a Wilson EDC X9L. I say that all the time because it's my main carry gun, but a 1911 9mm. So people that spend more time on the internet talking about guns instead of shooting guns likely, I know this, they don't realize that a 94-yard shot with a red dot in 9mm is not a hard shot. I mean, it's not. I mean, every single person listening to this podcast right now, every single one of you, if I brought you our range, handed you my handgun, and said, there's a steel silhouette at 100 yards on our range, shoot at it, I would have you hitting that steel target probably in less than 2 minutes. And, you're like, well, because you're a gun guy. Well, I promise you, I could have all of your grandmas hitting that steel target in less than 15 minutes. 100-yard shot with a red dot, 9mm on top of it, is not like some, I don't know, like some crazy thing. And, and it's what it reminded, it's kind of weird. If you think about the connections, like the parallels, it's actually not a good thing to say, but it's the way my mind works. Everybody who talks about the assassination of JFK and Lee Harvey Oswald, and, even like the stupid movies, and they talk about Lee Harvey Oswald and his prowess with a rifle because of his training with the Marine Corps, and, with this crappy Carcano and whatever. And I have had people come to me who don't know shit from Shinola when it comes to firearms. Go to Dealey Plaza, and tell me they are shocked at how close the school book depository window is to the place where JFK was shot. That is not a hard shot. I mean, the truth is, my shot with the groundhog was farther than Lee Harvey Oswald when he shot JFK with his 6.5 Carcano rifle. But, if you don't shoot, and if you don't actually see the shot and you don't have an experience, you just kind of go with this wives' tale, what you've been told. You're like, well, that's just like, this is incredibly hard shot and difficult. You can't hit a groundhog at 100 yards, 94 yards. Gotta be accurate for the internet. It's some kind of lie, or it's nefarious, or, whatever. And it's just like, well, no, it's not that hard. And then, so after we waded through that, I had to wade through that. And I guess I need to say this one as well. I don't want, look, I'm stuttering right now because I try to live my life as honest as I can. And I try to live my life out loud. And so when I posted this image, holding the groundhog, first groundhog I've ever shot in my life. Okay. I'm not like this great big hunter. Okay. But these groundhogs are tearing up the range. I'll get to that later. And, somebody rolls in and basically calls me a liar. And then what happens is a bunch of you want to come in and defend me and attack the person that's called me a liar. And I really appreciate that. I really do. Like, on some level, it's so nice. We're working so hard trying to do so much around here. And it's nice, that, like, to have internet friends, to have your back. However, it's big boy rules. I can take a little criticism. There's a lot of people that will never believe anything I say. That's the business that we are in. Okay. That's the business I am in. And there's always going to be somebody out there that wants to shit talk me or shit talk John 1911. And it's not because it's me or it's John 1911. It's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the internet. It's the nature of the gun community. And it's the nature of just kind of the world we live in. People will say and do things on the internet that they would never say or do in real life. And, as we get older, at least as I've gotten older, I've realized that, my behavior, I've always lived like this, but, what you do in private isn't really private. How you behave, whether you think somebody's watching or not, somebody's watching, like whether it's God or whatever, the truth is the truth is the truth. So, but with that being said, if someone comes in and, they want to accuse me of, I don't know, some kind of fraud, I can take it. And as long as they're not, we have two thresholds. We actually kind of have a double standard when it comes to moderating comments on our social media for John 1911. We have a policy of don't attack other commenters. You can have a constructive criticism and a constructive, even critical conversation amongst yourselves, but you can't MF each other, turn it into a dog pile because I don't want to read it. And I know the other readers don't want to read it. And so my threshold for people MFing each other in the comments is very low. I will delete and ban people for that fairly quickly. With that said, my tolerance for people to MF me is higher. Number one, it's fair. I'm not one of these kind of guys that wants to delete and ban and hide stuff that's on the internet just because, they're critical of me or us or, any other staff member. I'm not necessarily going to do that. I mean, if we have to cross swords with somebody to state our case, we'll do that. That's that's the business we are in. We are publishers on the internet. So if somebody needs us or wants us or solicits us to defend what we're doing or what we're saying or our positions, it's incumbent upon us to do that. If you want to come in and be supportive of that, thank you. We love that. But you don't need to come in and MF a bunch of people, on our behalf. We can defend ourselves. So, just thank you, but please don't do that. And the reason is, you'll notice, if you've been around a long time, you'll notice I've not been a big fan of the gun forums, the firearms related forums, whether it's, milsurf stuff or particular brand or makes or models or whatever. And it's because I find a lot of these forums super negative. They're super, what's the word they're super cynical. And the problem is cynicism. People use cynicism as a supplement for wittiness and intelligence. And if they're super cynical about everything, and then they don't have to, look in the mirror and look at their own deficiencies, try to improve themselves. It becomes very seductive, the cynicism that can eat people up on the internet, especially on these gun forums. And so, I'm real cognizant of having our social media turn to some big cynical, negative cesspool of crap. So with all of that out of the way, let's talk about the groundhogs. So, yes, it is true. The rumor is true. I've never shot a groundhog before. How can I be a gun guy? I've never shot a groundhog before. I'm just not this big hunter. I've shot some deer. I've shot some rodents and, some things, but never shot a groundhog. We've never had groundhogs on our property. This is something that has just happened this year. And I started noticing it in the spring. I'm like, what is this mud? Like, things are getting torn up, and I noticed it around some of the shooting positions and up in the front fields, which is up by the road. I'm like, what animal is up here by the road? Like, what is this? And then, I started seeing them literally on the rifle range, and it's the most bizarre thing. So we put in a rifle range at the John 1911 property, so we can sit on the rifle range from 60 to 500 yards, 515 yards. And we can back up to 600. And it's a functional rifle range. And in this rifle range, groundhogs have moved into it. So it's almost like this bizarre, shooting gallery now for groundhogs. And so about 2.5 weeks ago, I noticed how bad it was. And I had someone out at the range, and I told them, I say, by the way, starting today, if you see a groundhog on our range while you're shooting on a rifle range, you are weapons free. I don't care if people have headphones on or hearing protection. I don't care. If you see a groundhog, you take a shot at it. And so what's happened is it's starting to spread. And so people are now showing up at the range with their tactical rifle or whatever rifle project they want to shoot with. And then they're also bringing their varmint gun and they're leaving it loaded like on the next picnic bench. It's like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna, I don't know why we can't shoot the groundhogs with the ARs or the sniper rifles. Why we have to have a 222 farm. But hey, you know what? It's an excuse to buy another gun. It's fine by me. It's fine. So all of that kind of has been going on past just literally about 2.5 weeks. And so the day that I shot the groundhog, we had these film guys on property and we're trying to do some testing. And it's been, so I guess it was it Friday or Saturday? Maybe it was Saturday. So, and we had them on property on Thursday. And on Thursday, like, again, so it's not just like, hey, let's go shooting. It's like, let's have the film guys, because we're trying to get them crewed up to do things for us. We've been talking about this forever, going back to COVID. And, they're not gun people, so we have to kind of bring them up to speed, and they have to kind of figure out things, and they want storyboards. If you don't know what a storyboard is, don't even worry about it. So anyway, it's like trying the Normandy landings, trying to get, the shooting people and the shooting equipment coordinated with the camera people and the camera equipment, like having it all come onto the property at the same time so they can be in the same place so they can fuck with each other. Okay. So Thursday, we make the landings, okay? And, we march like we're MacArthur marching under the Philippines. And within about an hour, there's the main camera that they want to use is a failure. And so they have to, so everything stops because the camera they're trying to use, this fancy-ass camera, doesn't work. It just stopped working. Or there's some, I don't know why, like my iPhone cameras work just fine. But, whatevs. So that was super frustrating. And so they decided they were busy for the rest of the week. But, on the weekends, they had some time. It's like, hey, well, I'm real sorry. We'll come back out. We can come back out on Saturday. So it's like, okay. It's now landing number 2. And, like, you're getting everything crewed up. And we're going to land everybody on the beach on Saturday. And I've brought a particular rifle, and what the project is, I guess I should explain. We've already figured out how we shoot handguns and we shoot tac rifle stuff in the pit, more mobile shooting things, right? Action shooting, like, I've never seen a John Wick movie, but we kind of know how all that works as far as the cameras are concerned. The project now is the camera guys are trying to figure out how to shoot precision rifle, sniper rifle stuff. It's, how do you make it interesting? Because there's a dude sitting there or laying there shooting a bolt action rifle. And, they have static cameras, and then they have floating cameras, and then there's commentary. And then if you've got a shooter and a spotter, you've got to have them mic'd up, and they've got to be able to talk to each other. And then they have cameras so you can do cuts back and forth so it makes sense to the viewer. And then on top of that, you got to have a target camera. And the target camera's got to be pointed downrange to make sure that we're on that it's recording on the target that we're shooting at. But since you can't have the target camera filming the whole range, you got to aim it at the thing you want to shoot at, focus it in, then you got to sync the audio and get everything going. Don't vibrate the target cameras and do all this. So, okay, you kind of see where this is going, okay? It's a huge pain in the ass. So Thursday, they had a failure. Well, Saturday, I've got the Swede sniper out, an M41B sniper rifle. It's in 6.5 Swede, and first time we've ever shot this gun ever was this week. I brought it out to do a test function to make sure it didn't blow up, and I recorded out on my iPhone, and then so we could have it ready for the film guys. And so we go to, without getting into all of it, the Swede sniper, there's problems. And it's not that the gun isn't working. I mean, it's not, but it's the realization that that I don't have the ability to adjust the point of impact on this thing, because you have to adjust the windage with the base. And I didn't understand enough about how the base works on this World War II Mauser sniper rifle with this side mount weird system, and it was just like, we can't even see where the impacts are. It's so far off. It's not even close enough that I can, do some Kentucky windage and hold it on targets and do that. Like, we're getting nothing. Like, at some point, the rounds are striking so far off the target that they're out of view of the target camera. And it's like, I was pretty frustrated. And, everyone could tell I was frustrated, and I was like, oh, you know what? We're done. Like, we're done. We're calling it. We're going to move on. We're going to do something else, because we're just wasting ammo and time. And, just start packing it up, pack this stuff up. Let's start working on another project, on another thing here, because you got to keep it moving forward. And so in the process of doing all this, and me kind of being a little salty, pack up the sniper rifle because I don't want it laying out there because it's valuable. It's a military surplus collectible. If one of my working guns, if they fall, get banged up, but who cares? So pack this thing up, take it over to the truck, make sure it's secure, and walk back over to the shooting position, kind of helping the camera guys, watching them. And I look down the rifle range, and clear as a bell, I see a groundhog slowly walking in front below the 100-yard target array. So he's not at the 100-yard, which would be 115 from the shooting position at the shelter. He's down below. It turned out to be a she, and moving very slow. And I'm like literally, I say out loud, you have got to be fucking shitting me. Because we were just shooting. We had looked for groundhogs when we get there, because before we shoot, we kind of sneak out there and we start looking. We don't see anything. We've been shooting into the dirt. Can't find the impacts. The whole place is booming like crazy, because there's no suppressors. And it's like, tear all the gear down, and you look out there in the middle of all this, there's a groundhog, giant-ass groundhog that I've been trying to get. And I'm like, I start going, I need a rifle. Well, I'm looking around. There is no rifle. And, I just got done shooting a sniper rifle that you can't hit shit with. And I'm just like, the next thing I say, I go, fuck it. And I just, to anyone around me, I go eyes and ears, pull out my handgun, and I brace my arm up, up against the legs of the shelter. And not all the camera guys were by the shelter, so they didn't have ears on, but they were pretty far away. All of a sudden they start hearing me shooting, and first shot, I'm aiming for the head, and I'm not aiming for the head of the groundhog because it's like, ooh, I want to aim for the head like I'm that good. I mean, I have a red dot, I have it dialed in. I'm aiming for the head, basically trying to aim for the upper part of the animal. If I hit it in the head or hit it in the upper chest, kind of turn it off. If I hit it in the guts and it goes running off, it's a smart thing to do. I can see the head. I know where the head's at. I'm going to aim up for there. First shot, miss. It didn't even react to it. Second shot, it flinched. And I'm like, well, that was close. Third shot, miss. And it kept moving, and it moved out of view. And I'm like, okay, I didn't, it got away. Well, it's a handgun. Like, well, damn it. I should have had a 222 Swift up on the rifle range. So, I'm doing other stuff with the camera guys, and then, they wanted to do something in back. So we're loading up, and we're traveling, and we actually drove down the range at the back of the property, doing a bunch of stuff back there. Coming back up, just happened to be passing the 100-yard shooting position, look down, there's a dead groundhog laying on its back. And I'm like, holy hell, I did get it. I killed it. And that's when I took the hero pictures, and it's laying on its back, and it's like, well, it's been a while, but still, touch it with a pole, because you should wait 40 minutes. This animal get up, kick your ass. Not a groundhog, but anyway, it's just I'm explaining this to the camera guys, and finally it's like, well, I have to figure out how to get rid of this thing. So flip it over. When I flipped it over, I could see it had been wounded in the head, like in the top of the head, like it was right in the ear. It was really where the shot went in through the ear. And I was like, oh my God, I shot it in the head. It's a headshot. And, it would have been great if we'd had the cameras running and, the target camera. It's possible with the target cameras, it may have been visible in, the groundhog, but I'm not certain because the target cameras, they focus in relatively tight on targets. So, but anyway, I understand that it's a story. I understand that there's no video. People are like, if a video, I don't believe it. But also, I'm not going to publish something or say anything that is untrue. You have no way of knowing that. And I'm not offended that you don't know that. You have to take it at, that at least that I'm going to try to not, publish crazy shit on the internet that isn't true. So, so that's where the groundhog story comes from. So what we thought about doing, because I told the camera guy, I was telling him, it's like, yeah, you're not going to believe this. There's a bunch of guys on the internet that don't think I took that shot. Like they don't believe I made that shot. They're impressed by the shot because again, they're not gun guys. Again, I could get every one of you hitting steel at 100 yards with a 9mm 1911. So what I thought about doing is maybe setting up a camera, getting like, I don't know, a 6-pack of some kind of, maybe an 8-pack, because it was bigger than a 6-pack. This groundhog was huge, but bigger than a 6-pack. Some kind of like, a bunch of pop cans or water bottles all together. Put them out there at 94 yards, and then record it and shoot probably in 3 shots and see if I could hit up at the right end of the front, the head of the water bottles. And, maybe we'll do this as a video just to prove a point. But again, if you don't shoot a lot, and I'm going to really, really, really step into it here. And this is why I gave up the gun forums, because I noticed many years ago that I was spending time, and again, I don't want to be a hypocrite because I have to realize it was me too. The gun forums are filled with people who are gun guys when you get down to it are not actually shooting. They're not accomplished shooters. They're not shooting. They're not doing things. They're just talking. And it's a bunch of guys who own guns that don't shoot. And that wasn't the kind of gun guy I wanted to be. And I realized I was that guy as well. It's like, if you're on the internet, if you go on these gun forums every day and you're not shooting every day, are you really a gun guy? I don't know. If a guy leaves a comment on a gun forum in the woods, does it really actually hit the target? I don't know what philosophical thing I could come up with to convey this idea, but it was something that hit me. And it's like, so I realize as we're reaching more people, that we're going to be bringing in more of those people that have no idea who I am or no idea about the people that work here or kind of what we stand for, kind of what our goals are. And so, yeah, they think that, maybe I'm making up a headshot for that's my, that's my master plan. That's my glory. It's like, that's my high school quarterback glory days moment. I remember the time I made that headshot on the groundhog at 94 yards. It's like, oh my God, like if I was going to lie about something, I don't think it would be that, but neither here nor there. But to prove a point, out there, there's a lot that I don't know, which becomes more apparent to everybody the more you listen to these podcasts. Somebody made a comment about a woodchuck, And I did not know that a groundhog and a woodchuck was the same thing. Maybe I'm too embarrassed. Maybe most people would be embarrassed to admit that, but I'm like, what's a wood? Oh, a woodchuck is a groundhog? Because I was like, yeah, I don't know. We have woodchucks. I think we have groundhogs. I think they're groundhogs. I don't think they're woodchucks. I looked it up. It's like, oh, they're the same thing. So how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And now I know. And you look at the teeth of these things, you're like, holy shit. Also, a guy came in, and I hope you're listening to this podcast. He's like, yeah, get out the barbecue. And I was like, I made some comment. Again, this is me making a comment, not knowing about things like people making comments about me making a shot. I was like, well, that's how things like COVID happened. And he came back and he goes, actually, groundhog is really good barbecued. And I'm like, I did not know that. So if you have any groundhog recipes that you want to share, please leave them, on the website at john1911.com. If you have any advice or tips or techniques on how to adjust the scope base windage, I think I know how to do it. You have to, for the M41B sniper rifle, I think you can't see it, but if you know what I'm talking about, I think you loosen up there's a knob in the center between the two mounting points. There's a forward mounting tower and a rear mounting tower, and there's a screw between them that you loosen up with a leg on it, and then you can adjust a side screw that will swing the back of the mount left or right. I think that's how you do it. So if that is what you do, or you have advice on how to adjust for windage on the M41B sniper, please go to the john911.com website and give me some feedback. In podcast updates, I guess, technical information, people that listen to the podcast, you all don't listen to it with the same software. A lot of guys, I consume podcasts on Apple using the Apple Podcast app. There's things like Spotify. There's I don't know there's an app that Frank Galley uses over at Sniper's Hide, whatever app that is. There's a ton of apps. We got an alert today from Stitcher, which is when I publish this episode, we use our software and it pushes it out to all of these different apps. So you in your app can, whether it's Google or Amazon or Apple or whatever, can get the podcast. We got a note from Stitcher. Apparently Stitcher's shutting down. I never used Stitcher. We just checked the feed to make sure it's still there. I was like, why is Stitcher shutting down? Like, what is Stitcher? I didn't even really know. Apparently, it's owned by Sirius XM Radio, and so there's a business that's in trouble. There's a Sirius XM Radio is in more trouble than Fox News or cable. But what Sirius is doing is they are apparently, and I don't have Sirius anymore either. I turned all that off a couple years ago. They're now going to be pumping. Their plan is to pump podcasts directly through the Sirius XM service, which I thought was interesting. So maybe in the future, if you could listen to this podcast through your satellite radio, which is like interesting. So, but if they're going to pump podcasts through the satellite radio, Stitcher is a problem because Stitcher is an app that takes people off the radio. So Sirius decided the Stitcher's got to go. So apparently it'll shut down, I think, at the end of August, possibly. Definitely probably by September. So if you're listening to this, if there's the 5 of you that listen to this on Stitcher, just know that your service is going away, and it's not going to be because we're not publishing. You just have to get it from a different source. If you want to get it directly off the website, you can get an RSS feed off of our website, and you can download into whatever app you want to use, or use any of the major apps and do all that. Another thing that came up, so I guess some 1911 base stuff. We had a guy reach out, and he wanted to know, what do I think of 30 Supercarry in the 1911? I've been watching it quite closely. I think it's intriguing. the single stack 9mm 1911 is a 10 round gun, 10 plus 1. So I think this gun should be a 12 plus 1, so 13. And so, what's interesting for a guy like me, you guys that, you've grown up or you've come of age with the Staccato and the 2011 and the Wilson EDC gun, which I prefer, and, all these guns. Those double stack 2011 guns back in the day didn't work. They still kind of borderline don't work. But they didn't work. And so you really, if you're going to run a 1911, it had to be a single stack. It was impossible. If anything, but it just 100% gamer. Like you drop these magazines on the ground and like they're out of service. Like it was just crazy. These 2011s. So anyway, anyone that was serious that wanted to carry a 1911, you had to carry a single stack. Typically it was a 45. You could do a 38 Super, possibly if you were, pushy and you want to spend a fortune on ammo, or you could hand load, but you didn't have the options. But 45, you could get hollow points, duty ammo. And so it was an 8-round gun, or you could get the 10 rounds with the extended 10-round magazines. And so, when you're living in a world where you're competing with the Glock 17 and realistically the Glock 15, right? So the Glock, or not Glock 15, the Glock 19, the Glock 17 and the Glock 19, which the 17 has 17 round mags. The Glock 19 is a 15 round flush fit magazine. And so, at the M9 had a 15 round magazine. So in my mind, the 15 round mag is kind of like the minimum duty magazine capacity that you can get. Well, you've got the 9mm single stack guns, which I love, and they're 10 plus 1. I don't think anyone makes an extended 9mm magazine single stack. I'd be curious to see what it's like. The 30 Supercarry, you can get 2 more rounds. So now you're at 12 plus 1. So you're at 13 rounds. And it's like, dang. Just the idea of that super flat, thin 1911, and you're at 13 rounds. Like, imagine if someone made an extended 9mm magazine, single stack, like they used to do for the 45s, and then it's in 30 Supercarry. You could have a true 15 plus, plus 1, capacity gun. It's like, wow, that just, or 14, like that's interesting to me. And so 30 Supercarry is an interesting round to me. Ballistically, it seems like a hot round. People claim, because it's a 100 grain bullet, they claim that it doesn't recoil. The perceived recoil isn't nearly as much as 9mm, which, like who the hell complains about recoil in an all steel 9mm 1911? I'm super curious about it. I'm curious. Here's the problem. Yeah. Do I want one? Sure. Just like I want a 40 caliber single stack 1911. I want a 38 Super single stack 1911. I want a 357 single stack 1911. I want a high quality 1911, all those calibers, because I like the gun and I could buy the caliber. I'd buy 1,000 rounds of 30 Supercarry and carry it and shoot it and do whatever. Am I going to do 8,000 rounds a year of 30 Supercarry? Man, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to say no, but you can start to already see the stink of like what happened to the 40, you know what I mean? Or the 357 SIG. I'm interested in the guns. I would definitely want one. Realistically, the only company I would consider buying a 30 Supercarry 1911 from right now would be the Nighthawk, because it seems like they catalog the gun. It looks like they offer 2 models. They offer something called the GRP, and then there's one they call the President or the El Presidente or the the Presidente. I don't know. It's the president. They do the executive branch thing. The only difference I can really tell between these two guns that's of note to me is the Presidente gun. The President gun has a mag wall on it. The GRP guns don't seem like they have mag walls on it, and I'm not buying a 1911 without a mag wall on it. Not in 2023. Like, there's just no way. So, but do you buy one now, or do you wait until it kind of collapses and, and the 30 Supercarries for sale because nobody's really interested in it because it never really took off and people don't buy the ammo for it. So that's kind of where I'm at on them. I don't know where you're at on them. It's a boutique caliber. Look, I could be dead ass wrong. It could be the next 9mm 1911 because I think all 1911 should be 9mm. The whole idea of like God's caliber, it's like, yeah, you can miss me with that. And I've shot more 45 than anyone that goes through life saying most people that have a really, really, really strong opinion, obnoxious opinion about all 1911s should be 45 because it's God's caliber. I guarantee you I've shot more 45 than you ever will in your life. And it's like, you need to stop. I mean, you just need to stop. You're a guy that's talking and you're not shooting. I have no problem 45. I was shooting 45 2 weeks ago, not my old work gun. But it's like, I don't take gun advice from people that shoot less than me. See what I'm saying? So, yeah. Like, I don't... What caliber... Someone who doesn't shoot trying to give me caliber advice, it's like, yeah, you can just miss me with that. Like, just crazy. Like, whatever, dude. Now, some of you will find this interesting. It's been a long time coming, and I haven't confirmed this, but it's from a website called The Drive. It's more of a car focused website, media site. They're reporting that according to the United States, let's see here. Let me get the, give me a second. Here we go. According to them, Marine Corps Marine Corps Systems Command, Mark or Syscom, is saying that they have retired the last of the M45A1 pistols as of October of 2022. So that Colt M45 the Colt railgun with the double encapsulated recoil spring, and the gun they still had all kinds of problems with it, with the cracking apparently. That is officially off the table of equipment, according to Marine Corps Systems Command. So I don't know where the guns went or where they're going. Maybe they're going to come out through CMP, or whether the Marine Corps sells them directly. I don't think they would sell them back to. Maybe they'll sell them back to Colt. I don't know. Maybe they'll sell them to SIG. I don't know how that would work. They could turn up at the CMP, it's cool. Would we want a Marine Corps 45 ACP marked gun? We've had opportunities to buy them. Not for $10,000. We're not a buyer. I mean, like, I just, no, like, I've got better made 45s in the armory. Like, I've got a whole bunch of them. It's like, and I understand that my thought process is wrong and it is wrong because it's a historical gun. And, they were $3,000, and then they were $6,000, and they were $7,000. And then I think and then some of them, they were cracking 10, and it's just like, whatever. But I understand, it's collectible, and it's the Marine Corps, and you're getting into MARSOC and all that, or recon. And it's just like, I'm not a player. I'm just, there's a lot of there's a lot of folks out there. There's a lot of guys that will buy those guns, and they'll put them up. They won't shoot them. They'll shoot them a little bit. You're not going to shoot them to death. There may be one guy. But like, these guns aren't going to get shot. They're going to be collectible, and they're going to be owned by dudes who get on the internet that talk more about guns more than shooting. And if you want, and so I was looking at it, it's like, well, if we really wanted one of these, which I wouldn't, I'd just buy the Colt railgun. You know what I mean? Like I just buy a Colt, even spray paint it or whatever. Like because it's the one gun, the Colt M45A1 U.S. Marine Corps service pistol is the one milsurp gun that, because we're so deep into the 1911 game and the active shooting game, it's the one milsurp gun that we're just not interested in. We're just totally screwed up on it. We're like, we'll buy, U.S. Army marked Ross rifles, straight pull in 303 Ross rifles. We'll buy 45-70 Sharps fall. We'll buy all this milsurp stuff. For some reason, that gun, just like, we're just not a player. And so I know a lot of you guys will keep an eye out CMP, because they're going to be coming, because the Marine Corps, they're out of the Marine Corps system. They're going to go somewhere, and they're not going to go in storage. They're probably going to get surplused out. Okay, a couple other things, I guess, going on around here, just stories to tell, and just kind of observations as, I go through life. With having all these people coming onto the range that are not gun people, they don't have equipment. They don't have safety equipment, but they think they do. Like we had one guy, it's like, he's telling me how he's got headphones. He's got headphones. Because we're going to be shooting this sniper rifle. We're under the shelter. It's going to be loud, dude. And he's like, oh, he's got head. And he pulls out these, I don't know, these Bose, they're headphones for, like, I don't know, Dre Beats or something, or listening to music. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, so, I'm starting to have to keep more sets of ear protection, more sets of eye protection, earplugs, extra gear, because I'm having people that just don't, they don't have stuff. And so I'm realizing I'm not as organized as I could be, because, I've got all this, I'm throwing more gear in the truck that I wouldn't use, but I got to have it. So suddenly I'm realizing I need more range bags. And so I was looking on the internet, and this company, you may have heard of them. They're up and coming. They're called 511, and they make all kinds of stuff. And I'm not a big 511 I used to wear their pants years ago when I used to work as just a firearms instructor, because we all had to wear the 511 pants. And it's not my thing. I'm more of a Duluth Trading Company kind of guy. That's too tactical for me, so I never pay attention to them. However, it's 2023 and I'm old, and I'm amazed by what I'm about to tell you. 511 has retail stores. Like, there's storefronts in malls or in strip malls or in business districts. And there's one here in Cincinnati, and it's in a place called Kenwood. Let me set this up for you if you're not from the region. So I live in Cincinnati, and so it's a tri-state: Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Southwest Ohio, Southeast Indiana, and Northern Kentucky. And so, like, it's it's a tri-state. And so you have a demographic. You'll have certain parts of town, certain parts of the region that will be known for different things economically or culturally. So, like, you'll have downtown Cincinnati, which is south. That is not the most affluent part of town. As you move north out of the city, north and east, in Cincinnati, you generally get to the more affluent areas of the city. And in a lot of places in the country, and I'm sure you've seen this where you live, malls have come in decline. Large malls have declined greatly. So a lot of them have closed, or Bates baby clothes and whatever. Like, they're just, they're terrible. We have a mall in Cincinnati. One of our malls has not ever degraded. It's, I think it's not because they're so smart. This mall is called Kenwood Town Center, and it's basically northeast of downtown Cincinnati, and it's in a zip code that's relatively affluent, within 6 miles probably of Kenwood Town Center, in most directions, you're in some of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the state of Ohio. And one or two of them in the country. Not, I wouldn't say the most wealthy, because they're not the most wealthiest, but one or two of them are in probably the top 50 of wealthiest neighborhoods or zip codes, in the country. And so this particular mall has a lot of high-end shopping in it, and it does well. It's got nice restaurants. It's got, okay, for your girlfriend or your wife that are listening, I think there's a Nordstrom. The Tiffany's moved there from downtown Cincinnati. I think there was a Saks in downtown Cincinnati. I don't know if Saks has moved there, but there's all of these nice boutique-y and department stores. Like, there's department stores at Kenwood Town Center that have restaurants in them. That's really good. Like, it's a nice nice part of town. There's nice restaurants around it, even outside of it, across from the mall, businesses want to be near it. I mean, it's a big commercial area, and it draws in people from probably hundreds of miles, because it's that good of a mall, but we kind of take it for granted here because it's a local mall. There's a 5-Eleven store right across the street from basically Kenwood Town Center. And I've seen it for, a couple years. Just like, wow, there's a 5-Eleven store there. I would never go in it. Well, it's like I'm looking at some of this stuff. I'm like, well, like I'm looking at these 5-Eleven bags online. I'm like, instead of order them, I'll just swing by the 5-Eleven store and just maybe see if they have any of these bags. So I go in there, and mind you, just again, I'm an old guy, and I'm set in my ways, and I remember the way things used to be. In the 90s, for me to get a Surefire flashlight and buy some body armor that would fit me for work, I had to drive to Fort Knox, Kentucky in the middle of the night. They had to keep the store open for me after hours because I needed this body armor, okay? So we've gone from that to I'm now in the Shishi part of town, at Kenwood, across from Kenwood Town Center, in a 5-Eleven store. You walk in, there's plate carriers on the walls. There's gun bags on the walls. There's displays with spent brass in the displays, and knives and all these 5-Eleven type of accessories. And I'm just like, I told the guy, I was like, I just can't even believe I'm looking at this. This is so bizarre to me. I mean, it's not in a bad way. It's in a good way. I mean, their prices were kind of crazy, but it's just how things have changed. Like the fact, like if you had tried to sell body armor across from a Nordstrom's 30 years ago, you might have actually been on the news. Like, somebody may have written a story and said that you're like some crazy militia guy or something. Like, and now it's a full-blown retail. It's an anchor in this little strip mall that's adjacent to the big fancy mall that all the rich people go to. And, I just was kind of a cool experience. So, bought a couple bags. I'll show some pictures of them, when I'm going to the range tomorrow, and we got to do a bunch of stuff out there and do that too. I've been obsessed. Regular listeners to the podcast know I've been obsessed with my inability to move our company tractor off the range to, say, bring it to the armory or use it for personal stuff, like, I don't know, if snow plowing or whatever, like, just hey buddy's got a tree down, or whatever. So I drive a Tundra, a big Tundra. It won't tow enough to move an 11,000 pound tractor, because you got to have it won't move the tractor and a tractor with a trailer. It's too much. I'm either here or there. I saw a video online on YouTube, and I'll post the link in the comments section. it's a truck. I haven't ever seen this truck before, and I guess it was a tricked out truck made by probably, I don't know why I think a company in Texas, but it's like a custom shop, and it was a Ford F550, and this thing they were towing 30-some thousand pounds total gross weight, with the truck trailer, and I don't know what they were carrying a what do you call those things? It's not it's like an armored it's like an armored deuce and a half, kind of, for the military. It's not a deuce and a half, but it's an armored utility vehicle. They look armored. But it was they were towing that, and I'm like, man, Ford F550, that looks pretty interesting to me. I wonder if it's reliable like a Tundra. So, if you know anything about a Ford F550, I'll put the video up on the comment section, and you can look at the video and tell me if you think this is a truck worth buying, or whether you think, it's just me finding a way to waste money. Even though this is a solo podcast episode, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to give you at least one police blotter story. This comes out of Austin, Texas. And, I've heard a lot of things about Austin. One thing is I've heard that all the Californians have ruined Austin. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just something I heard. Another one, Austin has the thing where they're known as Keep Austin Weird. Okay, that's fine. Oddly, I think, San Antonio, where Blazer's at. I don't know, how far is Austin from San Antonio? Anyway, I digress. There's a story, and here's the headline, and this comes from, I can't see where it's coming from. Woman eats police horse's dung after an incident with the police in Austin. And there is video of this woman. And she is a woman in Texas, capital city, has gone viral after she made a spectacle of herself by rolling around an equine waste in the middle of the city. Of course, the unnamed woman, who was wearing a lingerie-like leotard under her jeans and top, was filmed as she played in horse poop left behind by the Austin Police Department Mounted Patrol. To up the ante, she quickly started covering herself in the dung in a provocatively sexual manner, all the while people surrounded her with camera phones and took pictures. During her performance, Austin Mounted Police units continued to stroll by, seemingly unbothered by the entire affair. Several people encouraged the girl to eat the horse dung, but the young woman eventually drove the crowd away by trying to embrace them. No kidding. So yeah, that's that's the police blotter for July, the end of July of 2023. Well, this wraps up episode 307 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see any more stories or pictures or links or the crazy poop woman in Texas, please go to the website at john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good night.